Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome into another edition of Tider Insider TV right here on WVUA 23. The program brought to you each and every week by Buffalo Rock, alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris. And tonight, courtesy of Buffalo Rock, Diet Pepsi Wild Cherry. I'm staying with the diet theme right now, Rod, because you know, man, you're not playing around tonight, are you?
Well, that's a perfect segue because, you know, Jerome and Rosie at the Y,
right?
They're huge Gary Harris fans, and they were asking me today, how much of this your weight loss? They noticed your weight loss. Want to know how much of it's attributed to your Diet Pepsi?
A lot of it. A lot of it. Keeping the calories down while getting that great taste. And I wasn't going to brag, but since you brought it up, since last Monday, what is this now? 9 days?
10 pounds?
About 9 pounds.
There you go.
Yeah, kicking it in hard. Yeah, Diet Pepsi. You know, pick you some up. Buffalo Rock, thanks for them sponsoring the program, and you were ready for that, weren't you? All right, let's get to the business at hand. You got me blushing, man. For the first time since Bo Davis's resignation, we got to hear Nick Saban talk in last week's SEC teleconference. Here was his response when he was asked about Bo's departure.
We're all about trying to do things right here at Alabama, and we're going to do everything that we can to do it right, make it right, and you know, Bo submitted his letter of resignation, and we appreciate, you know, the contributions he made to the program here, and we wish him the very best in the future.
In that same teleconference, Rodney Saban said he was still in the process of looking for a replacement for Coach Davis. Well, we think he has his man. Carl Dunbar, long rumored to be the replacement, had his name floated around since Coach Davis's departure. Well, a Twitter account last night attributed to Coach Dunbar tweeted, "Blessed to be a part of the process." Now, we have confirmed, Rodney, that is indeed Carl Dunbar's official Twitter account. And even though the university has not confirmed it as of right now, it does indeed look like Carl Dunbar is going to be the new defensive line coach, or already is, at the University of Alabama. In fact, I was told by a very good source he's already in his office.
Yep. Well, if true, certainly I think when you look at it, Gary, it's a really good hire, because I thought one of the big things is not only was Bo Davis a great coach, great talent evaluator, great recruiter, and all those things, we know that Carl Dunbar's got an outstanding reputation as a great defensive line coach in the NFL. He's been very successful. But not only that, I think he has something that Bo Davis had that really was very important to the defensive line group here at Alabama. He built a bond, a brotherhood of sorts with the defensive line, and I think that was really key when you're hiring a defensive line coach. That's really important in terms of replacing Bo Davis with a guy like Carl Dunbar who has those similar qualities.
Yeah, he does. And, you know, you mentioned with Coach Davis, players loved him, Rodney, and he was able to coach them tough because they did respond to him. Tough love, yeah. So you got to have a guy that comes in here, and I think with Coach Dunbar, not only was a great player at LSU and in the NFL for a number of years, but a defensive line coach at the NFL level for the last 10, 11 years. And, Rodney, where do all these guys want to go, most of them? To the NFL.
That's right. Certainly they trust him as a coach because of his experience and where he's come from and all of those things without even really knowing him. But, again, I do think the quality that he has with building a bond there with his players is very important.
Well, you know, when he gets started, he's kind of a good group of guys to work with. There's no doubt about that. The one question, Rodney, would be recruiting. He hasn't done it in a long time. He has done it before, but certainly he'll be with a staff that can – I trust that they'll get him pointed in the right direction.
Oh, no question about it. Again, when you're talking about a guy with his kind of experience, he has something to sell for himself in terms of what he's done and his experience. But when you're talking about a defensive coaching staff that has Tosh LaPoy, Jeremy Pruitt, Derek Ainsley, those are all outstanding recruiters as well as the guys on the offensive side. So this staff is really excellent recruiters. I think Carl Dunbar certainly will do a good job.
He'll have some big guys to coach on defense at Alabama, big guys on the offensive line as well. But if this guy eventually makes it to the capstone, he may be the biggest of them all. Rodney, we don't talk too much about commitments from ninth graders. Yep. He'll be a sophomore in the fall. But, you know, you got to talk about Evan Neal. He'll be a sophomore. He's a class of 2019 player, but he's already committed to Alabama, and he stands 6'6" and weighs 353 pounds from down in the state of Florida. And Rod, he's already playing against guys in the 11th and 12th grade as a freshman and throws them around like rag dolls. Long way to go until he's a senior, but man, this isn't your typical 9th, soon-to-be 10th grader.
Yeah, and again, he could change a million times between now and the day he signs his letter of intent. Huge guy, look at him there. You know, Gary, you have to wonder, how big is he going to get?
Who knows? I mean, I can't think. Maybe 6'8", 6'9", 400. If he grows anymore, they'll try to keep his weight, I'm sure, in that 350 range. But it's impressive for any young man to have this much size and athleticism. But when you're this young, it's scary, really.
It's
so
unbelievable.
we'll see if Alabama can hang on to him. But he did officially commit verbally to the University of Alabama. Rod, let's move on. Tomorrow, the SEC softball tournament gets underway. And Alabama comes into the tournament as the number 5 seed. They're the number 3 RPI team in the country, number 5 seed in the SEC. SEC is pretty good. Mississippi State will host the tournament and also will host the Tide tomorrow night at 6:30. Now, Alabama beat Mississippi State convincingly last month in a 3-game series at Rhodes Stadium in Tuscaloosa, and the Lady Bulldogs are near the bottom of the conference rankings. That's why they're having to play Alabama on the first night. But the Tide, Patrick Murphy, he's careful not to overlook any opponent.
They're in the SEC, and anybody can beat anybody. And this is, I think, above and beyond every other year. I say it probably every year, but I think this is a year that it could happen. Anybody can beat anybody. If you don't show up ready to play, you're probably going to get beat. And it's happened week in and week out for the last 9 weeks of SEC play. To me, it's the toughest the conference has ever been. So it doesn't matter who you play, you better be ready.
You better be ready. And our Zach Tigert and Brandon Cameron will be live tomorrow night in Starkville for that game between the Tide and the Bulldogs. Still to come on TITV, the women's golf team makes it 11 straight NCAA championship appearances, while the men's team gets ready to host an NCAA regional right here in Tuscaloosa. We'll have the men's head golf coach, 2-time national champion coach Jay Sewell in studio next. Plus, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets later on in the show. You see the information on the screen on how you can get in touch with us, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Email TITV@WVUA23.com or reach out to us on Twitter using the hashtag TITV. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV returns right after the break. And right here, the Alabama women's golf team finished 4th in its NCAA regional last week at Shoal Creek Golf Club just south of Birmingham. The top 6 teams from that regional head on to the NCAA championship in Eugene, Oregon. So that includes the Tide and Alabama making an 11th straight NCAA championship appearance. And head coach Mick Potter says that is a testament to the type of players that have been recruited to play women's golf here at UA.
We have good players, and good players should play well on good golf courses. So, it's all about recruiting in the end for us. The better the player we can recruit, the more they're used to this kind of thing, the more they've played at, USAMs and US Opens on a junior level. And I love that because it prepares you for this.
I'm so glad that we've kept the tradition alive and we've kept the 11 straight going. It's been a great ride, and hopefully we can make the best one, the last one, the best one.
And the men's golf team plays its regional this coming week, next week actually. It'll begin on Monday. And we have the head coach of the Crimson Tide in studio, Jay Sewell. Coach, thanks for coming in.
Glad to be here. You're looking thin today.
All right, we're going to move on. I'm trying. It's work for me, unlike you two. But we heard from Mick Potter, coach, and I know you and he are very close. And before we get to your team, I want you to comment on their squad. A lot of pressure going in. Number one, didn't play their best. Right. He said, he didn't recognize that team out there last Thursday during the first round. But still, they did what they had to do and advanced. And really in golf, where, we know how fickle it can be. The bottom line is getting to the next round, right?
That's right. Yeah, the regional week is crazy. It's the only week that you're not worried about winning. You're just worried about advancing, and so they did their job. He's done an amazing job, and it's probably something that was good after winning the SEC and the role they've been on the spring. Just a little bit of a misstep always kind of gets you back on the ground a little bit, and so I think they're a favorite for a national championship. They bring their second national championship home, and we enjoy watching them play in practice. They inspire us, and Coach Potter's as good a coach as you can be.
Now your team won't have that favorites tag this year. Maybe it's good. I mean,
yeah.
you won it all in 2013, won it all in 2014, national run-up 2012. A lot of expectations last year. This year you're hosting at Oak Colony. More on that golf course in a moment, how great a shape it's in. But you're the 4 seed in the region. Now, the top 5 advance, and that's the goal. But a little bit of an underdog role for a change. Do you like that?
Yeah, I think this team needed that. I was talking earlier with Rodney. The SEC, we've actually had a pretty good year. We've won 4 times. We've beaten everybody. But we had a really misstep in the SEC championship. It's a bad week to have a bad week. But finished 11th. But I think it was the kind of the nail in the coffin to what we had done.
Right.
We have a couple of guys on our team, Tom Lovelady and Robbie Shelton, that have played on those national championship teams. And so the shadow's been long. And I think going in this week as an underdog or not a number one seed or the spotlight's going to be on the other teams. I think it's going to be something this team can thrive on. I think, I can already tell in the weeks of practice since the SEC, today even, I think they look hungry and relaxed, which it hadn't been that way for about 2 or 3 months.
We were talking before we came on about you almost won it in 12, you won it in 13, you won it in 14, and then all of a sudden everybody expects you to do it every year, don't they?
They really do.
It's that easy.
It does. National championships are hard to get. If they weren't, Coach Saban is kind of making that not look the part, even though I know he would hit me for saying that because they were hard for him also. But you think you do that every year, and it really isn't. These are lifelong dreams that have happened, and to win back-to-back, which has been done very few times in the history of college golf. I'm very proud of those guys, and those are special guys that played. You can see Bobby and Robbie and Trey, and this is the putt with Trey, of course, which is probably one of the most excited I get. And here I go acting like a little kid. There I go. There you go. So still get chills today. But you have to move on. And there's always a point where it moves on. And for us, I think it was, the Sunday, that back nine where we were, technically it was even the front nine where we were just no shot of winning an SEC. I think that will be the thing that kind of restarts this, our program and kind of starts a new direction.
You look at where you're at now, and as you said, people just kind of take it for granted that you're going to be good, but it wasn't always that way. You came here in the summer of 2002, your first season 2003. It was a good program, but facility-wise, it was lacking a little bit. Had some success, but nothing like Coach Mal Moore envisioned, and you had to have a vision because you left a very successful program there at Augusta State to come here. And I know you said when you came to visit, you thought it was more of a courtesy visit, but Coach Moore sold you on it, sold you on the vision to build a program from that point to where it is now. How fulfilling has that been?
Very fulfilling. Coach Moore was a very special man to me and to all of us in our athletic department. But me personally, he's the only reason I came. I felt like I was eating lunch with my dad, and I really enjoyed hearing him lay out what he thought Alabama golf could be. As you said, Coach Spivey had done a good job, and it was a good program, but Coach wanted it to be more. And so I was very thankful for the opportunity. And, it's always nice to be wanted. I didn't think I wanted to come, but after my visit with him and in the beauty of the campus, it was something my wife and I couldn't say no to, and it's been the greatest decision we've ever made.
The campus sells everybody, Rod.
Well,
it really does.
And I know you can not say some specifics in terms of recruiting, but as we look forward to your program and where it's going from here after this, I know you feel really good about some of your recruiting classes coming up over the next couple of years, that you've really got some talented players coming in.
Really excited. 16, we had a kid come in early, Josh Sedino, one of the nation's top, who came in actually in January. We'll start it. We redshirted him, but he'll play in August, so he'll hit the ground running, which he won't be a freshman. But 17 is pretty good. The guys that have come and visited with us and give us a good thumbs up, we're really excited about kind of difference makers because as we've all heard and said, good players make good coaches. And I'm really excited about the future. We may have looked like we've taken a small dip at the moment, but we really haven't. I think our program is in pretty good, solid shape, and look forward to seeing what we do this year, but also the future.
And it doesn't hurt that you got a bunch of guys playing on those professional tours either. That doesn't hurt recruiting. Hey, real quickly, because we got to wrap it up, but Old Colony, I know the work that was put in to get it to where it could host this tournament, over 7,500 yards it's going to be playing at. Talk about that golf course, and I hear it's just in fantastic condition.
It really is. This is a dream. As you talked about building, this is what we wanted to do, to bring Old Colony, University of Alabama, an NCAA regional. And so I'm really excited about that. And I think it's really the crown and the jewel of what we've done at Alabama, because we're going to bring the nation's best. It looks like an SEC preview again, though. We got 5 of us here. But I'm really excited about how Para and our athletic department have worked together to bring this possible. But Old Colony is going to be a great test. Par's a great score. It's free. We'd love to have as many Roll Tide fans as we could. In 13 in Atlanta, We broke all the NCAA. We shattered the NCAA records of tickets. Ours is going to be free, so we'd love to have as many out there as we could.
Yeah, come out on Monday. You got all the rivals, Georgia, Auburn, and like you said, a couple other SEC schools in there. So get out on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at Old Colony. Thank you so much, Coach.
Thanks, Gary.
Coming up next, the Alabama baseball team wins its 5th straight series over Auburn. That's good news. And next, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Phone lines are open, so give us a call right now, 205-348-9882. We'll be back with more Tider Insider TV right after this timeout. Alabama baseball got the better of Auburn again for the 5th straight season. The Crimson Tide took the Tigers in a 3-game SEC series after winning in extra innings in Game 2 to secure the series victory. Auburn came back and beat the Tide in Game 3, but the series win moves the Tide back to 500 in conference play at 12-12. 15 wins in the league seems to be the magic number to get in a regional. Alabama's got 6 conference games left, beginning with the series at Fayetteville against Arkansas this weekend, then at home against South Carolina, so they're in pretty good shape. Well, Rodney, people are always talking about how they can't get in. Well, this is that little May lull that we get. You know, a lot of stuff going on outside. A lot of people are busy. So phone lines are open. If you've ever wanted that chance to call in and get through, now is the opportunity. 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. So call now, and you know what? You'll get on. You won't have to call me after the show and talk about how you can never get through. Don't want to hear it. Now's your opportunity. All right. In the meantime, we got a couple emails that we're going to get to, Rod. And also, you can reach us on Twitter using the hashtag TITV. Let's get to an email right now from Tommy and Alina. Do you think Derrick Henry will be the starting running back for the Titans? Great question. DeMarco Murray, Rod, 2 years ago was the NFL's leading rusher with the Dallas Cowboys. Went to Philadelphia. Didn't work out there. Titans traded for him. I do think he'll be the starter for whatever that means, the guy that gets the first carry in the starting lineup. But Derrick Henry is going to get a lot of carries. They're going to run the ball. Mike Mularkey's going to run it, and they're going to run it a lot. So they'll use both those guys. I don't think he'll necessarily be the starter, but I'm not sure it matters.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a really good situation. I said this last week. I think with Derrick Henry coming in, he certainly won't have to carry the whole load right away. And I think having DeMarco Murray there, a guy that's a veteran, it's really an established running back and an outstanding player in his own right, Gary, I think that's really big for him. I think that, Derrick Henry going into that situation couldn't really be any better.
Checking Twitter here. We need to get some tweets in there. Hashtag TITV if you want to get through on Twitter. Got another email right now. This one comes from Elaine in Northport. Why didn't Jake Coker get drafted? Well, Elaine, he wanted to. We've talked about it on the show, Rod. He worked hard to get drafted. I think it would have meant a lot to him. But quite honestly, I don't think it matters. If you're a 7th-round draft pick or 6th-round pick, I think as a quarterback, your chances of making a team as an undrafted free agent are just as good. He went to a team that wanted him, Bruce Arians, wanted him in Arizona. Obviously, they've got Carson Palmer, a 36-year-old starter. He's established as the starter. Drew Stanton from Michigan State is the backup. But then there's Matt Barkley, who never quite lived up to the promise that he had coming out of USC, and Jacob Coker. Coker is big, he's strong, he is competitive, and it wouldn't shock me if he makes that roster.
Well, I think, of course, everyone wants to get drafted, Gary, I think. But you mentioned it. I mean, he came into a good situation in this with the free agency with the Cardinals. Bruce Arians does an outstanding job with those quarterbacks. And I think when you look at it for Jake Coker, it's going to give him an opportunity. And if he can take advantage of it, make something happen, Gary, it's a good program for him to be in. And, if he can just make the roster, that's really all his aim is right now. And, I agree with you. I think he's got a lot of the tools, and, being with a quarterback coach like he'll be with in Arizona, give him an opportunity to develop.
All right. Hey, the phone calls are coming through. We're going to take a break. When we come back, though, we got phone calls at 205-348-9882. You're watching Tider Insider TV. We're cruising along on a Tuesday evening in Tuscaloosa. We're back after this. Welcome back. Let's get right to the phone calls. Joseph is with us in T-Town. What up, partner?
Everything all great, man. So who people all this who's looking like they're taking the lead on that quarterback spot?
Rodney, any updates on the quarterback?
Yeah, I think it's still the same, Joseph. Again, I think Cooper Bateman's the guy right now. And again, we'll go into fall camp. Obviously, a lot of competition. Blake Barnett, David Cornwell. I think even the freshman Jalen Hurts is right in the middle of it, Gary. And I think until we go through fall practice a little bit, we really won't have a better idea.
All right, let's go over to Bluff Park and talk to Rick. Rick, welcome in. What you got for us, man?
Hey, fellas, how y'all doing? Appreciate you taking my call,
yes, sir.
I'd like to ask you about 3 young defensive players, Deontay Thompson, Christian Miller, and Keaton Anderson.
Rodney, I think all three of those guys factor in the plans.
Well, I think Deontay Thompson, after he switched back to safety, had a really good spring. I think when you start looking towards the future, he's a guy that could really have a role. Maybe not this year in terms of a starter for sure, but I think when you start looking in the future, he's a guy that could you need to keep an eye on at safety. Christian Miller's an outstanding prospect. Gary came here as a highly recruited player, redshirted his first year. Now he's just starting to come into his own. He's gained a lot of weight. He's gone from 200 to like 235. So I think he's got a really strong chance to contribute at that outside linebacker spot. And Keaton Anderson's a guy redshirted last year, a freshman. I think, again, he's a guy, as you start looking towards the future, he can help. And he's gotten bigger and stronger.
Yeah, look for him on special teams this year, too. All right, real quickly, Kenneth in Hamilton. How you doing, man? What you got?
Fine. Love TB23, love the Tide, and love Tider Insider. My question, I thank you for taking it. What is your and Rodney's overall prediction for the Tide in the upcoming fall season?
All right, Kenneth, I don't want to give away too much yet because we'll make those predictions later on before we get to fall practice. I think Alabama's going to be really good. That's all I'm going to say for now. I don't want to pin myself in right now. I think they'll compete.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, again, you're looking at a team that's going to be really strong defensively, and I think if they can get some of those questions answered offensively, they should be right in the hunt again.
Yeah, but later on this summer, we'll break it down game by game for you. All right, we got to come back and wrap up this edition of TITV. Thanks for those phone calls. We'll be back on a pretty night here at Bryant-Denny Stadium right after this. We know the Seahawks didn't draft Big Jaron Reed to kick field goals, but hey, if you're in a crunch, Stephen Hauschka gets hurt, this guy can do it. At the end of the Ricky Manning camp, Reed took on their first-round pick, offensive tackle Jermaine Ifedi of A&M, and Jaron Reed won it for the D. Just snuck it over the crossbar on the second attempt. They both made the first attempt. The big man's got some athletic ability. Also, this note, his running partner at Running Mate at Alabama, Eshawn Robinson, signed his rookie contract with the Lions today. Well, as always, our beautiful dress shirts and ties provided tonight by The Locker Room, a Tuscaloosa tradition since 1964. New home downtown Tuscaloosa, but all the great merchandise. You can also shop online at their website, locker-room.biz. Great place to shop. Great folks. They'll have you looking like $1 million. That's going to do it for the show. You can catch a replay tonight at 10:30 or on our website, WVUA23.com. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Good night, everyone.